we go. The new course. I have no better name for it, so I'm calling it Philosophy at Our House. And so, because I can't think of a better word than philosophy. But basically, the course, this is how, I'm not going to go into too many details right here and now because I think it's going to be overwhelming for you to think about all of this, okay? But I just wanted to let you guys know that this is coming, and I wanted to introduce you to the concept. I'm creating a new course. I call it Philosophy at Our House. You'll notice the names of the various spiritual, religious, philosophical thinkers. I would say that the 6 on this screen are the big 6 that we're going to be referring to in the course. So there will be others, but basically I think you can see, if you're familiar with any more than 2 or 3 of them, that it's a very inclusive, to use a very homeschooly word, it's a very inclusive course that goes across the spectrum from what we would call Eastern philosophy. I don't like to use that expression because, quite frankly, that thinkers like Lao Tzu and Buddha, I don't consider them to be philosophers. I think that word is a very specific word. But nonetheless, they have a certain wisdom. They have a certain insight into human life and into human nature, which I think is valuable. And they have a certain emphasis in their thinking and in their practices, which I think are missing in the work of much more scientific, philosophical, strict philosophical thinkers like Aristotle and Ayn Rand in the Western tradition. And then, of course, we have really the fountainheads of Western thinking. We have Greek thinking in the form of Socrates, and we have the Judeo-Christian tradition, of course, symbolized by Jesus. And so we have such a wonderful spectrum of ideas that's embodied in this variety of thinkers that I want to offer a course, not a history of philosophy, not a kind of social studies, shotgun, all kinds of different views. Okay, what is this course going to be? This course is going to be designed as a program, as a class on mindfulness. I haven't been able to find a better term than that. Another term would be thoughtfulness. Another term that I've seen used is intentionality. The Greeks talked about this trait that I want to teach as being they referred to it as the unexamined life is not worth living. But what I mean is the opposite is we're talking about the examined life. We're talking about active-mindedness. We're talking about all of these related terms that really span the spectrum of these thinkers, which if you know who they are and what they stand for, you might think of them as being very much, in some cases, opposites or combatively different from each other, and very, not typically mixable. And I don't mean to suggest that everything that they have to say is just really representative of one school of thought. I recognize fully that they are very different, and I do not embrace everything that each of them has to say. But what I want to try to show is what is best, as far as I can tell, among each of them. And what they each have to say, which I think is profound, that is valuable and to be pursued as a part of modern life. Because we've lost track of so many important features of a properly lived life. In ancient times, there was a greater urgency somehow among a wider spectrum of thinkers about the necessity of examining human life as such. And so almost contemporaneously, you can find people like Buddha and Socrates tackling really difficult questions of what human life is, what human nature is, and what the best way it is to live and to pursue our values. And somehow, I only say somehow because it's just beyond the scope of our present discussion. I think I know how. We lost sight of these things. And we live in such a materially advanced, scientifically and technologically advanced society. We're all racing around. We're all racing at just an incredible pace to achieve new values and make more money and go new places. Unfortunately, that is to a large extent, and I don't mean to accuse anybody of this, but all I'm saying is a generality about the culture. A lot of this is mindless. A lot of this has a vacuous element that is a tremendous there's a tremendous missing component to that. And I think you know what I'm talking about. If you think about the spectrum of sitcoms on television, if you think about the corruption of politics, of political life nowadays, if you just look across, if you think about the level of the music that we listen to, don't get Mr. Johnson started about that, because that will get him particularly depressed. But if you think about just a variety across the spectrum of cultural attributes, our modern culture is pretty decrepit. It's scientific, it's advanced, it's fast, it's technological, but it's morally untethered. It's spiritually vacuous. It's intellectually fragile. And so my purpose in offering a course on philosophy is to help. And guess what? This course is for you, not for your kids. I mean, it's for both. It's not one or the other. It's a course for families. It's an invitation. I guess maybe a good subtitle for the course would be Invitation to Philosophy. An invitation to thoughtfulness. An invitation to examine life. And if there is a text, there isn't a text. And the curriculum is very much under construction. But if there is a text, I'm going to show it to you. The text is this one. So if you're interested in listening to this in advance, I can't recommend this book enough. This is on Audible, so it's great to listen to in the car. It's great to listen to anywhere. And I love this book. It's called Wherever You Go, There You Are. The theme of the book is mindfulness. And it has to do with meditation as well. But that's really only about the last third of the book. The first two parts of the book are more about the theory. They're more about the reasons for embarking on a life that to pursue mindfulness. And I love this book. I can't recommend it enough. I'm going to talk about a lot of the concepts that are in this book with the students. And in this hectic rat race type of a life that we live, I can't stress enough how significant this book is, and in relation to the thought of these various philosophers that we're going to be discussing. I think the sum can be a toolkit for living that we all very desperately need. We don't have enough of this in our world today. So I'm excited to be able to make a new addition to the History at Our House, the Learning at Our House system, by giving what I hope is going to be the most personal, the most compelling and value-laden course that you're ever going to encounter. That's going to give you, a chance to examine things in your life and to help your children become the kind of people that lead the life that Socrates invited us to lead. That's coming up. Details to follow, of course, because there's still more to be hammered out with regard to that. But it's going to be a course that's available for the lower L all the way up to adults. And I hope that you will take it along with your kids. I hope you will take it together. And that it will become a part of your family life, that you want to engage with the thought of these different thinkers, and that it can give you a new and beautiful dimension to your family life. So that's part one of two. I have to add that there's a bridge between the two. There's one more. Let me see. We're about 50 minutes in because we started a little late. I think that we've got about 10 minutes to go, just to give you a heads up there, in case you were wondering how much longer we're going to be. I think we've got about 10 minutes to go, and then Q&A. Okay? So here's this philosophy segment is going to be added to the courses on offer, and yes, it's going to be available live, absolutely. And as I said, I recommend, if you're at all interested, and no matter if you're going to take it or not, go get this book and listen to it. I think it could be a powerful way of gaining a new insight into your own life, regardless of whether or not you want to take classes from me. So we're going to be doing this. And then, now I want to just, for a moment, before we get into the very last element, I want to say something that is that's crucial, and that is kind of in the background of everything that I'm working towards at this point. Why I am pressing forward with a lot of really ambitious projects this summer, and why I'm really hoping to kind of create an explosion of sorts on the educational scene with the Learning at Our House system. History at Our House has been quite obscure as a product up to this point. It has really not penetrated into the homeschooling market. That is to a large extent a result of my own limitations. I don't know how to do marketing. I don't like marketing. I am a historian, and so the limitations on the technical setup have been mine. The limitations on the business end and the marketing have been mine. So there have been a lot of reasons why History at Our House has not launched and taken over the entire homeschooling industry, as I think the quality of the product merits. But I think the marketing side of it has been one enormous limitation, but that's part of one of the challenges that we're facing in the course and in this entire product line, and one of the things that I'm hoping to recruit you all to help overcome, and this relates to the fact that my goal, and I'm stating it here for the first time publicly, but my goal is to make History at Our House available to the world for free. That is my goal. And that is only a means to an end, in fact. That is not my ultimate goal. That is only a means to an end. If I can be so bold, and hopefully I will not shock you into a state of disbelief. But my ultimate goal is to bring an end to public education. And I think that public education is a fundamentally flawed concept. And I think that all of the horrors that are attendant of public education today are not accidental. I think that they are absolutely a reflection of the essence of that which public education is. I think public education is a disastrous concept, and I want to bring it to an end. And I believe in the virtue of human beings to pursue education privately, in a free market of education, as with every other free market that they deserve to have. And so I want to create a product that will basically have zero barriers to entry, that will be absolutely free, that will be available to everybody's smartphone, everybody on the planet, whether you are living in the impoverished universe of Bangladesh or Zaire, or living in Orange County, California. You'll be able to just log on with your smartphone and get an education. And that is my dream, to be able to provide true quality education to any person on this planet, and thereby basically nullify the need for public education, to absolutely nullify and cancel it as a phenomenon. And so, because I think you can see, why are you all involved in this alternative that is homeschooling? It is because we live in an educational dark age. The reason why we need a philosophy at our house, the reason why we need a history at our house, the reason why we're all scrambling to try to correct everything that seems to be going wrong in the world around us, is because education is so profoundly broken. And we broke it. It's our fault. But the means that we used to break it, the mechanism, the hammer that we used to break it, was government and the concept of public education. And the only way we're going to fix it is if we get rid of that concept. And it's going to be a long, hard battle. But I think that a number of opportunities are emerging. One of the things that's obviously emerging in our culture today is the absolute and utter intellectual and moral bankruptcy of the educational establishment. Whether our kids are going to school and getting shot by somebody on school property, or whether or not they arrive at school with a Lego gun and then are suspended for it because of the insanity of the browbeating, brainwashing teachers that are in the public schools. It doesn't matter if they're all, everything that's going on in our public schools is a disaster. And it needs to be stopped. This is, as an educator, my dream is to give children what they need to live and to flourish. And what our schools are doing is the exact opposite. Our schools are destroying our children. They are destroying our culture. They're destroying America. And I can't stand it. And I want to do everything that I can to try to fix this problem. I think I have a lot of tools. I think I have a lot of unique skills and abilities to bring to bear. I think we have a product that is taking shape, that is going to make things possible that otherwise would not be possible. We have this amazing communication medium that is the internet. We have the tools to get the government out of our minds, to take back our society, which seems to be running out of control in the wrong direction. We need to take those tools and we need to start using them now, because the trajectory of our society is very dangerous. And specifically, over the next few years, we're going to start to see, and as a historian, I hope you have a certain amount of trust in my historical insights into the world around us, and you're trusting me to teach your children about it. And you've been seeing, perhaps in my History of Asia program, that I have a number of predictions embedded in that course. I hope that you have a certain amount of trust in my historical judgments. As a historian, I have to warn you, we're heading into very difficult times. We are heading into what, in hindsight, historians will call a Great Depression. I can only make this statement on the basis of my historical awareness. Most people cannot make this integration. Most people cannot see where the financial crisis of 2007 and the response of government to it, and the connection of that financial crisis to the previous housing bubble, to the previous dot-com bubble, to the previous Japanese bubble, and so on, how all of these are interconnected, how the global economy is structured at this time, and how the government is ruining the whole thing. Most people cannot see this. It is so complex that I understand that most people cannot see this. But I see it. It is absolutely crystal clear to me that in 2007 we entered into the early phases of a Great Depression. Not a recession. All the spin jobs of all of the politicians of the world cannot make it otherwise. It is not a Great Recession. It is not a jobless recovery. It is none of these things. It is a Great Depression. And the reason why it's not evident yet is because in 2007, 2008, and thereafter, the governments of the world, in a concerted effort, engaged in a long emergency procedure to mask the Depression. And if you look up Ben Bernanke, the head of the Federal Reserve of the United States, the most powerful man on the planet, who can print money using his keyboard, and who does, on a daily basis, create $4 billion of funny money out of nowhere. If you look him up, what you will learn, his bio is, he studied the original Great Depression. He is supposed to be a scholar of the Great Depression. And on the basis of his studies, he decided that the next time there would be a great financial crisis, he would stop it from happening. Now, this is the height of presumption that is only possible in a modern intellectual apparatus that is completely spurious. But Ben Bernanke thinks that he could, and thinks that he has, saved the world by printing $4 billion of money every single day. But he has not. And we are headed into a Great Depression. And there will come a time shortly in the next few years where nobody can pretend otherwise. And this is going to be hard on us. It's going to be very hard on our families. It's going to be very hard on us as providers. It's going to be very hard on us as educators. It's going to be hard on everybody. And it's going to be long. It's going to be long, I'm sorry to say. And in anticipation of this, I know that a lot of people are going to be going broke. A lot of people are going to be experiencing hardships. And they're not going to be able to pay for History at Our House. But I would think it devastating and tragic if, as a consequence of the way that our government has ruined us financially, that people who are worthy cannot obtain an education. I desperately do not want that to happen. So I want to make History at Our House available for free. But I can't do it. I can't just snap my fingers and make that happen. There are costs associated with it. I've run myself into near bankruptcy making the project of History at Our House. That is my level of dedication, but I can't do it on my own. I need help, and I need to communicate with you as clients, especially as returning clients, as dedicated patrons of this program. We need to rally, to summon what we have available collectively to make that happen. And so this philosophy program in part derives from the need to come together in that way. The need for us to form a community, to form an unconventional long-distance community of families, of educators, of citizens, in order to salvage what we've got and make our lives better. Because we're going to need to do it. We're going to need to work together to pull out of this. If we don't, I don't see a lot of hope. We have so many obstacles before us. We have so many challenges before us. Whether we're talking about America or the world, it's extremely daunting to face the future. But we have the tools, we have the abilities. We just need to work together on them. And I hope that with this product, with these product offerings, with the tools that you have, with the new technical constructs that we have to bring it all together, that we're going to be creating a platform here for cultural change. So, As I said, there's a lot to take in, right? And so here, let me finally get to the very last item, because I promised that we'd be done already, but we've got one more to go. And this will just give you a sense of just how much is racing through my mind these days and why I need mindfulness training, because I've got a lot going on, and sometimes I need to stop and meditate because there's just too much going on in my brain. So let me get to this one final item,